Alrighty boys, so you came to my video, you want to get better at Sandstorm. My number one advice is get fucking good, kid. So this is a pro tips, a tips and tricks, a couple pointers for you guys how to get better at Sandstorm. We'll just go step by step on the little things that make you becoming a better player. So before we actually get into the tips, really quickly here, if you shoot normally, that's normal recoil, right? Crouching reduces recoil a little bit, and laying down reduces the most amount of recoil, just to let you guys know. So my first tip today, it's probably the most important one, and it's probably something you won't even notice until it's pointed out to you. So we're going to be sprinting. Say you're sprinting around the corner and you run into a guy. Your first initial reaction is to shoot the guy, right? Well, you're technically doing it wrong. I don't know if you noticed, but there's a delay after sprint. You're still in the sprinting animation, and whenever you try and shoot your gun, you have to get out of it. There's actually a way around this to completely avoid the sprint animation, or the sprint delay, whatever you want to call it. So I'm going to do it in slow motion, step by step. You stop, crouch, then shoot, right? It's going to look a little something like this. So that's actually much faster, a much more efficient way. If you run into another guy and he does the exact same thing, as long as they aim to back it up, you're always going to win. Just because you're always going to be jumping the gun first. Now, you can also do this by just stopping and then doing it standing. But just like right there, sometimes you're going to cause that sprint delay. No matter how good you get at it, I constantly do this. If I don't crouch, if I keep standing, I will accidentally do the sprint delay like ever so often, and it just messes me up. So crouching just effectively just takes that away completely. And not only that, crouching gives you a reduction of recoil, so it's just a bigger bonus. My biggest tip, or at least word of advice for if you do this, is just be very careful not to do this, is sliding. You really want to get that key combo down where you completely stop, crouch, then shoot, all in an extremely fast motion. You don't want to have your pinky on that shift, or else you're going to slide every time. So my next tip in this game is actually crouch jumping. So we all know if you run up to a ledge, you can still shoot, right? And then if you get in a very bad position, maybe the ledge is a little high up, you can vault over. You're going to completely lose your gun while vaulting, and it's a little slow, especially if there's a room full of enemies you really want to kill right away. The way around that is simply by crouch jumping. Crouch jumping is going to allow you to enter through these windows or over objects much faster than vaulting. It just leaves for more fluent movement, especially if you want to get on a ledge without completely jumping over it. Say you just want to jump on this window and shoot guys below. You have that option. It's a great example. You can run up these stairs. You see these sandbags. There's guys pushing down here. The fastest method to getting as many kills as you can right away is just crouch jumping over the sandbags and immediately spraying down at the enemy. Alright, so before I properly show you guys how to use smoke, I just want to show you a quick tip with the smoke. So you can just throw a smoke grenade, right? It's going to take a second until it actually activates for a full smoke screen to cross wherever you're doing. Well, if you hold it, you can actually pull the pin, and then there's a timer on it. So if you throw it right, you can have it smoking by the time it hits the ground, much faster in time crunching situations. If you really want to, you can just hold it in your hands and say you're stuck behind a tree, boom. Saves you some quick cover. You can get out of that situation fast. Alrighty guys, I'm going to show you the proper way to actually use smokes. So there's some guys out there that smoke anywhere and everywhere around the map, and there are some actual negative effects to smoke for your own teammates. There's a time and a place to smoke, and not every single time to push up OBJ is a chance for you to use smoke. You should know when exactly to use it. For example, there's a gunner right there. He's shooting at your whole team. You're all positioned right here. Before, I said you could pull the pin and smoke down yourself, right? Well, that's only in certain situations. Say you're all by yourself and you're very pinned. You go ahead and do that, but that is not the go-to every time. You shouldn't be smoking your own line of sight or your teammates' line of sight. What you should be doing is focusing on smoking the enemy's line of sight. So they're shooting at you. Instead of smoking at yourself and affecting your own team in the process, you quickly just shoot, smoke out the enemy. I don't know why the truck disappeared, but if you smoke out the enemy, they won't have a line of sight on you. That ruins their line of sight. They're going to have to reposition, and you can still hold that angle and push as a team by covering that angle until the smoke disappears. I cannot stress enough how valuable smoking at the right time is, and how detrimental it could be if you're doing it wrong. So just a prime example, this is OBJ, right? Well, you have two options. You can either smoke right here and then enter OBJ, or say there's a guy at the end of the hallway holding that angle, you can simply smoke him out, and then all you got to do is focus on the right while entering this specific doorway. So the consequences of you smoking every inch would be you to smoke the entrance, right? You run in there just to get gunned down the moment you run outside that smoke, or you get gunned down once the smoke disappears, or everybody just starts tossing nades inside the entrance of the smoke, trying to kill you. Alright, so I like to call this a mind trick, but before I get into the actual mind trick, not a lot of people actually know that you can actually place C4 onto objects by simply pressing aim. You can get creative with this, place it on doors, maybe breach in a creative way like that. I just wanted to throw that in there because not a lot of people actually know you can place the C4 and it's actually sticky. You can't do that with IEDs though. But back to the mine trick. As you can tell, I have a nice shiny mine laying on the floor, and a little farther away is another mine. Now a lot of people think these mines can only be activated through a car, but you can also use them as a chain explosive as long as you can trigger this explosion, whether you shoot at it directly or you use something like an RPG, or in this case a C4. Now these mines are actually really useful because not only are they cheap, but they have a greater explosion distance than a normal C4, nearly doubled the kill radius than a C4. So we're going to show that in a nice safe distance. It's probably going to kill me from right here, but we're going to do it anyways. So we're going to be talking about defending OBJ on push. So defending isn't just all about sitting on actual OBJ itself and waiting for the enemy to come to you. I know you don't have a lot of breathing room due to the borders, but there are specific positions that you can hold and specific lanes you can hold really well. If you find a really nice sniper spot, LMG spot, or you're just constantly rotating in a specific area, holding down an entire lane by yourself, this is what's going to make or break a difference on a defending team. So you don't want to constantly keep defending actual OBJ. You want some breathing room. This is what these positions are for. If you just constantly camp OBJ itself, once you're all eliminated, there's not going to be a line of defense to back you up. They're just going to capture OBJ. What you initially want is a couple guys front lines in these key positions. Once they're taken out, you can rely on the people who are actually camping OBJ to defend until you respawn and go and reinforce them and try to push back the enemy. You can constantly see this in games where there's just a bunch of players who are camping actual OBJ itself. They all get flanked, and it's just an easy cap. But if you can spread that breathing room for your team, you can really do some damage against the attacking team. You just want to make sure you don't get carried away when you're in these positions, because sometimes your teammates can start dying. That last wave of defense could already be taken out, and you might have the whole left lane covered, but the entire attacking team is attacking the right lane, is already on OBJ. You got to know when to pull out and go help out your team on actual OBJ, or else you're going to lose the cap. So you're going to want to know when to go into that exact same spot or position that you're holding if you died. You don't want to constantly keep going to that same spot, or else the enemy is going to know, and you're going to start becoming predictable to them, and they're going to make it their effort, so that way you don't ever get back into that same position. What I do sometimes is I actually camp OBJ. I wait for the enemy team to push OBJ, and once we get a solid defense going and we wipe out their wave, then I push back into that same reposition position, and what this does is the enemy team thinks that they're comfortable enough that they pushed you back to your own spawn, but in reality you were kind of baiting them to OBJ. That way they feel comfortable enough to just keep running at OBJ and not caring about these spots because they think they've had it held down and they think that they've killed all these defenders. But if you can reposition yourself at the right time, you can just mow down a lot of guys that just really aren't paying attention at the end of the day. So we're going to be talking about flanking on push OBJ. So you can get a lot of kills, go on a really nice kill streak, maybe get way too kill thirsty to the point you actually forget the initial reason why you're flanking in the first place. Flanking should be about killing key defenders and opening up lanes for your teammates. You know, flanking shouldn't just be all about flanking the enemy and going for these huge multi-kills, right? Sometimes it could be just flanking one enemy that's a really good sniper, a really good LMG position, or just a really good player that's keeping your entire team from actually pushing up. Once you take him out, there goes their key defender, and it just makes it easier for your entire team to push up one step at a time. Here's another key tip. Sometimes your teammates just can't keep up. You're already touching OBJ, but your nearest teammate is way too far away to help you out. What you can do is try and solo cap to the point it gets stalemated, or you tell there's enough enemy players on actual OBJ itself, then you can get out of there and go back on a killing spree. What this does is it lures or baits the enemy defenders out of their positions back to OBJ, and it just takes resources away from the defenders, helping your teammates opening up these lanes. So just don't be some dickhead who's constantly trying to spawn kill the enemy defending team. What you really want to be doing is helping out your teammates out, because even if you're taking out the same 6 guys that are crappy and just can't defend it for themselves constantly over and over in spawn, you're missing out on these really key good players that are still staying in their positions, holding the whole team by themselves. What you should be doing is focusing on those other great players, and then as a team you could push actual OBJ together, and it's going to be much easier than just trying to solo cap and complain why your teammates aren't being able to catch up or stick with you. So that's basically all I got for you guys. I try to do more advanced tips rather than the basic tips that really just help me overall become a better player at the game. You know, stuff like aim and map knowledge come over time with experience, and usually you always have to put time into a video game to become better at it. There's really no shortcuts than, you know, putting in the time and effort into that. But hopefully with these tips, it speeds up that process and allow you guys to become better players. So that's really all I got for you guys today. Thanks for watching the video. Thumbs up if it helped, and subscribe for more. So I'll catch you guys later. Deuces.